Declan Rice's red card has become the main talking point of Arsenal's draw against Brighton, and it's overshadowed some really interesting tactical developments that took place in the first half in particular, where actually before the red card, Brighton were actually really good in the game. They were able to manipulate Arsenal's midfield, their out-of-possession structure, and their pressing in general. So the purpose of this video is to analyse that first half pre-red card and try to explain how Brighton caused Arsenal problems and whether this could be a long-term problem across this season for Arsenal and their midfield in general. So in terms of how the teams lined up, Timber started at left-back, obviously inverted into midfield. Brighton, on the other hand, started by building up in a sort of a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-4. Now, in the first 15 minutes of the game or so, it was all Arsenal, largely thanks to Saka up against Hinshelwood, who is a 19-year-old, not left-back, playing at left-back up against one of the best wingers in the world. So Saka was winning that battle every single time and creating some really good chances for Arsenal. Brighton also were just struggling to create anything against Arsenal. They were struggling to hold on to the ball for any significant period of time. But two key things happened in the game which ultimately led to Brighton from this point onwards controlling the entirety of the first half, which is something that we don't associate with teams who play against Arsenal. Never mind teams who play Arsenal at the Emirates. And this moment here in around the 13th minute was the first example or a preview of what was to come. So you've got Dunk on the ball. He plays in Hinshelwood, who looks for that first time ball through the entirety of Arsenal's midfield, through Partey and through Rice. Now, it doesn't come to anything because the ball through to Matoma is ultimately not good enough, but that was a warning sign, I think, because immediately, through just one ball from Hinshelwood, one quite clever ball, first time through the midfield, it's got Brighton into a situation where now they are running at Arsenal's backline. So that was the first thing to note. And then the second thing, which ultimately confirmed the tactical change, was James Milner's injury. Not necessarily the injury itself and the sub itself, more so this conversation here between the Brighton manager and Hinshelwood, who is clearly instructing him, go into that area because you did quite a good job there. So invert into midfield. And that's exemplified in the touch map. This is the first 50 minutes Hinshelwood's touches as a left back, all on the left, obviously. Post Milner injury, look at these touches especially. A clear instruction to invert into the midfield. And from that point onwards, it was all Brighton, to be honest, in that first half. All Arsenal really had was this opportunity where Odegaard should have put it in the back of the net, but Trossard was offside anyway, so it wouldn't have actually mattered had it gone to VAR. In around the 18th minute, this is when Brighton get their first bit of settled possession after the injury, and we can immediately see Brighton trying to act on that Hinshelwood inversion and that foreshadowing of what took place in around the 13th minute. Hinshelwood here inside Saka rather than the outside. The ball is played in from Dunk. Also note to the positioning of João Pedro here. Technically the 10 in the game, but more so playing at left central midfield. And what that positioning was doing, it was forcing Arsenal's midfield to split up so that Partey could try to deal with Pedro dropping into those left half space areas. Saka didn't quite know who to pick up between Hinshelwood and Matoma with this new inverted position by Hinshelwood. So again, this is the first example of it in effect. Ball comes to Hinshelwood, and again, Saka is unsure. Partey decides that that is my responsibility and that is my man. I'm going to come out and meet Hinshelwood. Again, notice the positioning of João Pedro. And now look at this still here. Hinshelwood, with one pass, now has the opportunity to bypass the entirety of Arsenal's midfield, leading to a 4v4 opportunity. Rice tries to step up, isn't quite able to get onto it. Unfortunately, from a Brighton perspective, Hinshelwood slightly overhits the pass, so Arsenal are able to recover. But had the pass just been slightly better, or maybe the positioning of this Brighton player slightly more advanced, you're looking at a 4v4 situation. And that hasn't come through a counter-attack. Arsenal were in a settled defensive shape, but due to the slight change of Hinshelwood's positioning, that caused a disarray in respect of Arsenal's midfield. Again, Partey feeling the need to jump forward. And João Pedro's positioning also confused both Partey and Saka in terms of who they were supposed to be picking up, and Brighton capitalised. They weren't able to capitalise on end product, of course, but they were able to capitalise in terms of getting the better of Arsenal's midfield. Here's another really good example of Hinshelwood exploiting Arsenal's midfield, once again, particularly Thomas Partey. So Dunk is on the ball here. Notice Matoma out on the left. Once again, João Pedro almost in that left 10 position. Hinshelwood drops to receive. Partey once again feels the need to go and engage with Hinshelwood. João Pedro peels off Saka. Partey goes to engage Hinshelwood. Matoma's now swapped with João Pedro. Ben White notices this, goes to close it down, but just look at the shape that Brighton have forced Arsenal into. This is their back four. This is now becoming the midfield of Rice and Partey, and with one ball, Pedro has the opportunity to play in either Matoma or Welbeck. Now, once again, the ball isn't good enough by João Pedro. Arsenal are able to deal with it. But you see the idea of what Brighton are trying to do and what they've been able to achieve. They've been able to manipulate Arsenal off the ball, who are normally so strong and resolute off the ball, and construct some really dangerous opportunities or get themselves into dangerous positions. One more example that I want to show you. Once again, Hinchwood in midfield. Matoma's pulled out to the left. Saka, again, is caught in two minds of which player that he wants to try and help pick up. In the end, it comes to Matoma. Saka decides to engage. White decides to help Saka. Partey goes to the space that Ben White has vacated. So Partey pushes out to right back because, again, João Pedro is trying to manipulate Partey and take him wherever he wants to take him. Brighton now picks out Lewis Dunk, who's noticed that Partey has actually vacated that right back position, trying to get back into midfield, as you can see there. And now João Pedro can make that run off him off the left. Gets into a dangerous position, requires a really important intervention by Saliba. Once again, Brighton did not necessarily construct any shots from these actions, but I was just really impressed with the way that Brighton were, again, able to almost dictate where Arsenal were going to be off the ball and manipulate their midfield and bypass that midfield far too easily, considering how stable and resolute Arsenal normally are in terms of their defensive structure. Once again, this all started with Hinchwood inverting into the midfield. That confused Saka. Pedro's positioning and also Matoma's positioning confused Partey. That allowed all these opportunities to just get through Arsenal's midfield and make it at one stage a 4-on-4. Had the touch, had the ball just been slightly better, Brighton would have been kicking themselves because they constructed loads of really interesting opportunities. But this final ball wasn't good enough and they weren't able to capitalise on the control because, again, following the injury, Brighton, in my opinion, had total control of that first half. Arsenal obviously scored off the back of an egregious Lewis Dunk error, but they weren't able to create anything themselves. And that, in terms of Arsenal versus mid-blocks, that's maybe another video for another day. But today I just wanted to focus on how Brighton caused Arsenal out of possession issues. They did also cause them lots of in-possession issues as well. Maybe that's another video for another day if another team is able to cause Arsenal issues when they set up in the mid-block. That's the video, guys. It's the first time I've done a non-City analysis video, so I appreciate it's probably not going to be as good as the City ones because I don't know Arsenal obviously as well as I know City, but hopefully you were still able to enjoy it. If you did enjoy it, please let me know in the comment section. Let me know if I should continue to do, in addition to City analysis videos, should I occasionally do a non-City analysis video, like a neutral analysis where I focus on another team, whether it's Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, or whoever. Please let me know. If you didn't like it, I won't do this again, but if you did like it, again, let me know by leaving a comment. Thank you guys so much for watching either way, and I'll catch you next time.